Well, hey there team, welcome back to the channel and welcome to my review of The Operator. So I'm kind of accidentally reviewing this. I've been crook and I had the day off and I picked this up, jumped into it. I knew it was going to be kind of short. That's what some of the negative reviews have said. However, saying that, it's got a lot of positive reviews despite it being a smaller title, not getting a lot of fanfare. But yeah, this fits my original model of how I started reviewing games as a reluctant reviewer who does not like the review scene that much. Just an idiot with a microphone. I see my time personally for gaming worth $5 for 1 hour. That's Australian. And so, yeah, I picked this up around about $20 Australian, just under on sale, which you would call about 4 hours. And I got through this in one sitting at 3.5 hours. You could go back and scrub up some more achievements. And there's not really any replay value from what I understand, no multiple endings, which is fine. I don't care about any of that. So there's all your caveats in your value proposition, but very clearly I am saying it's worth your time, it's worth your money. And you might not subscribe specifically to my method, but at least wishlist it under my recommendation and pick it up when you think it's price appropriate, because this is really cool, especially if you're someone like me. I'm very verbal about my disdain for visual novels and walking sims and what I see as bad faith attempts at putting someone's crappy story, fanfic nonsense onto a game store. No one wants your bullshit story on a Netflix show, and they probably don't want it here in a game, especially if all you do is press W to move forward. However, I am forever pursuing good narratives in games because, like most people, I enjoy a good narrative. But I am a gamer and I'm on Steam because games is what makes me tick. And this does it expertly. There's a really fun thriller in here and I really want to talk around it. I don't want to ruin it because it is one of those things, one and done. I went in fairly blind. All I knew is what I saw on the Steam store, which is that it looks like Cyber Manhunt 2, which we played earlier this year and I was quite smitten with. And this is a bit different. This is much more, well, narrative, actually. Still lots of little gameplay bits and pieces to do to keep you busy, but where that is probably more robust in the brain-twisting, puzzling nature as a comparison, as a touchstone, because I know a lot of people picked that up on my recommendation, enjoyed it. This does lean more into the thriller narrative through line, which is probably good news for some other people. The setup is that you are the titular operator. You're this rookie, you're new on the job, and what an operator does is you work for the FDI, the Federal Department of Bloody Intelligence or something like that. And you're the guy in the chair from all the movies, that dude. You're Link from the Matrix. And you basically run an internally routed dispatch where agents in the field call out, they get paired with you, and you sort of do the computer Hollywood hacking magic trickery to help them out doing the legwork. And that's about all the setup that you really need to know. From there, you meet colourful people, your supervisor, people that you know, calling in, saying hello. You meet some agents with different personalities, friendly, curmudgeon-y, that sort of stuff. And as you get case files build up and then you start to connect dots, maybe between different cases, maybe there's a conspiracy going on. I don't really want to say much more. Like I said, I went in blind. I encourage you to go in blind. If that's one thing you take away from it, if you watch me because you enjoy my recommendations and dare I say you kind of trust what I say, get this, man. Get this and block out a day on the weekend or an afternoon and just enjoy it. Some observations that I will make, because there are a few, but again, we're talking broader themes. I'm dancing around specific spoilers, not just narrative-wise, but also mechanically. In fact, let's start with that. There's this term I've had floating around and rolling around in my head that I would call throwaway gameplay mechanics, and that's not disparaging, even though it sounds like it might be. I think there's something cool and something magical about a dev being willing to put in a mechanic for a mini game or a game or whatever, like a part of the game loop that is kind of one and done. It's not reused over and over again to try and get the value out of it. I find that fairly inspired, and it's kind of big balls, especially from a smaller dev. They've only got so much budget and bandwidth, and you got to watch out for scope creep as well. Careful, you'll turn into an early access game. But just imagine if, you were playing a game and you had to lockpick a door and you only really did it once and you never saw it again. I kind of think that's cool. And, in a sort of spoilery way, there's a couple of moments in this, not quite as trivial as lockpicking, where you have to do stuff beyond your scope of the core loop. There's still a core loop of investigating and finding info and scanning databases, all that sort of crap, but there's some really good pieces. There's a really good centerpiece that goes for about 20 minutes and it's tense, and I'm not telling you what it is, but then you don't do it ever again, and I love that. I really think kudos to the devs for doing throwaway, one-shot gameplay mechanics, because if you contrast that to what we see in industry more and more, they're clearly trying to get value. By the time you're doing the fifth bloody lockpick or insert gameplay mechanic, it feels less that you're getting value from something fun and often more that the developers are using it as pseudo padding, not quite as overt as what you would call, let's say, first wave padding. But it feels more like, well, we built this mechanic, we built the code for this, and we can put it here, and that's going to add another 20 minutes to the game. I don't know, it might just be me because I play so many games and I'm getting more sensitive, or maybe that sort of flicks a switch in your head and you see it now, but I just don't like them saying, here's some padding, enjoy. There are exceptions, if a game is like a puzzler at its core, and it has like a robust puzzle mechanic as the loop, of course you're probably going to expect to do that 100 times over. But I think people get the gist of what I'm saying. So yeah, this has some really cool moments in it that stand out. I've often waxed and waned that, if I were to ever make a game, I kind of like the idea of the game kind of bait and switching you a bit. Maybe you're a construction worker swinging sledgehammers and all that, but as you get into the game, it turns into friggin' Harrison Ford the Fugitive, and you're running from federal agents and catching subways and all that. It's like, well, I'm not swinging hammers like I was in the first 30 minutes of the game. I find it interesting when games kind of take a twist, but from a development perspective and the way that the industry is structured, very rare to see. Another observation that I made is the narrative over character development is king. And I've said this so many times, and any chance I get, I will do it. There's been like a sort of subverting and hijacking, especially in AAA, right? Voice actors getting full mocap and given their bloody emotional performance, and narrative is becoming about, does Deborah like me or not, as opposed to, will we catch this dude before he kills again? I speculate that this might be a masculine-feminine divide, but that's a dangerous topic that I'm not going to touch much more than that. I am much more interested in objectives, in solving, and the impetus being getting through an objective, as it were. And that's why I love thrillers so much. Yeah, you have characters, and yeah, there can be character development, but it's always secondary and in service of the through line. And this game, in a way, kind of highlights it magnificently because it's all voice acted and written, and you've got some characters that are kind of one-dimensional, and, nothing against the voice actors, but they're not exactly hiring the creme de la creme. And you know what? That doesn't fucking matter because they're good enough here. The underarching through line narrative, whatever you want to call it, the hook is compelling enough that you're interested, and while you might be talking to the grumpy field agent or the rookie one and they're a bit flat and a bit dry, they're delivering their lines, it's well enough, I'm developing a connection with them, and it doesn't matter that this 1% bloody art student shooting their shot for their Academy Award. In a way, for me, as a normie, the more high art and the more intense these performances get, they kind of start to take me out of it, because I see an actor trying to act for the sake of showing everyone that they're a good actor, and I'm much more interested in everything else except that. So yeah, that was something kind of almost profound, that on one hand, if you really wanted to put a critical eye up against this, voice acting's not fantastic, character writing's not fantastic. But on the other hand, as a normie who just wants to be entertained, it is a great thriller. Really cool, interesting. I like the ending. Not everyone will. I kind of figured out one of the twists a bit early. Doesn't matter. It was just engaging and entertaining. The soundtrack's really cool. The credits roll was interesting at the end because they chucked on essentially a James Bond anthem, and I was like, that was pretty cool. But all the ambient Sting music was synced up. I can only imagine trying to construct this. Okay, the player's gonna click on this word and it's gonna boom, and it's gonna reveal this huge twist, and then we're gonna dun 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 have serious music and kicking in, and like it all sounds so dumb, but it works really well. Sitting there at me bloody computer terminal, clicking on emails and having this intense music blasting away, and it works really well. Anyway, I feel enthused. This game honestly has been a shot in the arm for me. As you know, as a final sort of closer, I think I might be bringing back my old, as in from a year ago when I started reviewing, I might just be bringing back that formula. The $5 to 1, maybe do 3 games a week, do a AAA, indie, AA, throw all the early access games in the bin, and I'm just putting this on the end because you might be curious if you made it this far. Maybe I'll do a video all its own. But yeah, I think I'm just a bit fatigued. I'm overrun with games, and I kind of really enjoyed taking the time to sit down with this game, play it for its value as I see it. I got that, and years from now I will remember The Operator as a game that I just really enjoyed, and I'm glad I took the time. And under my recommendation, perhaps you will as well. Anyway, team, such is my review for The Operator. Let me know what you think. Might just leave it there for the time being, and I will catch you guys on the next one.